My guest this morning, Winton Buddington, is back with me. Man, I am so happy to have you back. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for connecting in with us this morning virtually. Where the heck are you?
I live in Rochester, New York, and I'm excited to be here and be back chatting with you this morning.
Man, I gotta tell you, Loudon was just on a little while ago, and we have been talking an awful lot about bullying. And
hmm
I know it's a really serious subject in schools. It has been for quite a while, way too long. Do you tell us a little bit about you? I'm going to ask you if you feel that we're getting a little bit of a grasp on it. But tell us first off who you are and
Yeah.
what you do with Sweethearts and Heroes.
I started my career. My first career was pretty much as an educator. I taught middle school. Started as a social studies teacher, and then I had the opportunity. I taught all four core English, math, science, and social studies in the middle school. I was an enrichment specialist for about 3 years, and then moved into administration. And I was assistant principal, and then uh, principal at Bay Trail Middle School in Penfield, New York, for 14 years, and retired in June of 22. And had worked with Tom and Sweethearts and Rick and Sweethearts and Heroes for about 6 years in a row in my building. Made such a huge impact on our climate and culture. I just kept having them back every year and forcing them to change up things so that they could do something different for the kids each year. And when I retired, Tom called me and said he needed somebody to connect with schools because he's presenting during the day, and that's when people are available in schools. And he asked me to join the team, and I'm happy to be here.
Are you guys dealing with the redistricting stress out that way?
Not in New York. We have we're some of our districts in New York are dealing with potential mergers. The smaller districts are looking at careful looks at their finances, and some have shared superintendents, some have different configurations. But in New York, we're pretty much town school districts. So we we're not having a big state issue like is going on in Vermont.
Interesting. What do you feel about bullying? And I think you and I chatted a little bit about this last time I had
Mhm.
you on. How is it being combated? I mean, we've got, you guys are great at posting stuff that it's, you know anti-bullying month
Mhm.
of October. This is when we shine a little bit more of a spotlight on the issues at hand with bullying, which are very complex and have deep roots and go all
Yeah.
over the place now. It's different from when you and I were kids.
Well, and yeah, there's so many other factors that play into it. And I think we may have talked a little bit when I was on previously, just with the role of social media. When you and I were kids, if somebody said something to me in school that was negative or disrespectful of me, I went home and I got away from it. You know, with if it's happening on social media now, that child is going home and they're seeing it over and over again on their device. And so it's hard for them to get a break from it. The other thing that's compounding, I think, the challenge for schools right now is that our societal norms seem to have shifted a little bit. You know, we have leaders and I don't want to get into politics, but we have leaders on both sides of our government right now that are doing behaviors that I would be holding kids accountable for in school as inappropriate. And so it's harder for schools when those negative behaviors are being modeled nationally, that to tell a kid, well, it's not appropriate. And that's compounding the issue, I think, um for schools a little bit as well.
The fact that you guys infiltrate yourself into so many schools,
hmm
push the message of positivity, but I think more than anything else, what you guys push is the message of hope. Hold on, possibilities exist. Hope being the acronym for those words that you guys use and really drive home in your message into the minds of children in the schools that you are involved with, that there's hope, that things are going to be okay. And if we've got that as a foundation, that'll have a residual effect on suicide levels, depression levels, mental health as a 40,000-foot umbrella with kids. This is not an easy task in this world, my man.
No, and it's hope, but it's also student empowerment, and it's empathy, and it's helping students understand that they have, adults aren't the solution to bullying. Students are the solution to bullying. And what we're trying to do in our
Whoa.
work with schools is
Wow.
train kids, give kids the skills, because kids know where bullying happens. They know who's doing it. We need to empower them and give them the skills so that they can have that hope. They can see that there are possibilities that exist that they hadn't even thought of, and how to do that. And so that's really the core of our work when we go into schools. The presentations that Tom and Rick do are phenomenal, and that's the ignition event that gets people excited. It has an individual impact on kids. They connect, they get that initial message of hope. And then the power of the work is our community building circles and the empathy building that happens in circles, and the training that we're doing with kids to have those skills to jump into action.
Empathy and compassion are just some of the driving force behind what you guys do. Making kids, or not making kids, but showing them how easy it is to reset their way of thinking and maybe have a little bit of understanding. My dad used to tell me, if somebody's being a dink to you, you may not know all of the reasons why they are. And what you're just seeing is the end result, which comes out, of course, in behavior and attitude. But there may be something that's underlying, that's going on, that you may not know about or you may not see. It's not like we're all walking around with a scrolling digital message on our chest of what's happened this morning or what happened yesterday or this past week, that justifies our behavior.
Yeah, and one of the pillows in Tom's book, 13 Pillows for Affective Educators, is behavior is a form of communication. It's hard sometimes to understand that language of behavior and what's being communicated, but everybody's dealing with things we know nothing about. And the more we can communicate with each other and come to understand each other and approach each other with that perspective. Like, I don't know, other than the fact that you've had a cup of coffee today that was hot. That's all I know about your morning today.
Right.
I don't know what else happened, what might have put you in a great mood or might have challenged you this morning, that you're coming to do this podcast. And the more we have that perspective for people, that everybody's dealing with something, and understanding, and that's the empathy piece. It's recognizing that just because somebody doesn't look the same or act the same or have the same resources or whatever, it's not, they're still struggling. They're still struggling with something, and we need to have that empathy and that understanding. And if we do, it's much easier to approach people and be positive and supportive. And everybody doesn't have to be best friends. They can have differences of opinions, and that's okay. That's good for to have difference of opinions and different thoughts and different perspectives, as long as, and we can share those in a way that has us talking about them, and that's what we do in Circle.
See, you're talking about stuff right now that is so far beyond the classroom. You're going into the workplace. You're going into the office. You're going into everywhere with what you're saying right now, man. That is a huge takeaway. But so many of us, Winton, and we're so reactive to other people's behavior. That's our knee-jerk reaction is to be reactive. And I'm not just talking about other students reacting to others' behavior. I'm talking about administrators. I'm talking about even the principal at the school. We are so quick to react without taking a deep breath and saying, okay, to this other student, yes, they're being a dink. And just because they've had some circumstances doesn't give permission for them to continue to be a dink. And I shouldn't be on the receiving end of this all the time, every day. But maybe have some foresight. Maybe have a little bit of a deeper perspective of what might be happening in that bully's life that you may not know about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, there's differences between conflict and bullying.
Oh yeah.
Conflict is differences of opinion, and words can be exchanged in conflict that are negative towards somebody.
Sure.
What really makes it bullying is when the victim really feels smaller or weaker.
Yeah.
And it happens over and over again.
Yeah.
It happens repeatedly. And that's part of the challenge with social media, that if I send you a negative text on social media or post, I'm dating myself because I'm just talking about text. I may have only sent it once, but you're reading that over and over again. And so, it's conflict, but I'm not doing it over and over again to you. You're actually doing that to yourself, but social media gives you that ability,
that tool, that platform. Yeah.
And as a principal, I worked with a lot of students that were in conflict with each other, and that conflict manifests itself in different ways, but it wasn't always a bullying situation. It often got called bullying, and a parent would call me and say, my child's getting bullied. And when you dig into it, there's things going back and forth. There's really not that feeling of being weaker or smaller. Both students are doing inappropriate comments and things to each other.
Sure.
So it's a conflict situation. It's not a bullying situation. And that's hard to disaggregate.
Yeah. That's such a great point, man. That is a fantastic point. And sometimes administrators, sometimes adults in general, need to recognize the opportunity to maybe take a step back and let those kids, depending on how old they are, kind of figure it out on their own and work through it on their own. And I mean, we've got a 10-year-old little girl, and we're constantly trying to figure out, do we take a step forward and get involved as parents, or do we take a step back, keep our eyes open, watch, listen, pay attention, but let our kid kind of work things out on their own?
And it's helping the students figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Because if they have a strong sense of self and who they are, the things that other people say and do to them have less impact. If they're still struggling to figure that out, then those words and actions of others can have a greater impact. So a lot of that too is having those conversations with your kids about who they are, what do they like, what do they enjoy,
Yeah.
what do, they have strengths, they have superpowers. And that's one of the things that, as we work with kids in schools, we want to help kids find their superpowers. It might be the gift of gab, it might be being funny, it might just be being clumsy, or whatever it is. It might be magic, it might be music. Those are all superpowers that people have that help them recognize they have strengths, they have abilities that are similar and different from what the abilities and strengths other kids have.
I have heard so many times from Sweethearts and Heroes, from all of you, your whole team, especially Tom, that school teachers, administrators can do the best that they can. But really, what you're talking about right now is stuff that has to begin with what's going on at home. And not all of us have the perfect mom and dad. Some of us we don't have any of that. And there's a huge lack of structure outside of the classroom, outside of the school. But man, it's like if we can have some positive influences in our lives as children to help us have conversations like what you just said. Hey, how was your day today? What was good about it? What was bad about it? What frustrated you? How are you going to get through that if that happens next time or tomorrow? That is the important stuff to put right into the minds of kids. Hey, life isn't, the older you get, the more complicated it gets, and it's just not always sunshine and roses.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be home that has those conversations.
Yeah,
If kids have a caring adult in their lives,
yeah,
it's that adult could be at school. It
exactly.
could be the custodian at school that the
Yes.
kid sees in the hallway that says, "Hey, how you doing every day?" It could be the grandparent. It could be the bus driver. It's the first person they see in the morning for school that's connecting with the kid. So it doesn't have to be at home, the
Great
person
point.
having those conversations.
Absolutely. Excellent point, man. I can't imagine being a school teacher. I would be I'd be a teacher for maybe 5 minutes. I wouldn't be able to handle it. But the fact that, they're trying to teach all of this core curriculum stuff, but also managing all the other stuff that kids have to contend with. I mean, we all did. You and I did when we were in third and fourth and fifth grade. But man, it's like, I guess my point is, thank God you guys are who you are and doing what you do. You're going into schools and you're doing, in my opinion, the most important work.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And it's so huge, man. It's massive what you guys are doing.
And I think the best teachers have always seen their content as a means to the end. The content isn't the end. The content is what they use to help kids figure out who they are, to help kids develop the understanding that possibilities exist. Whether you're struggling with a math problem that you didn't get today and you figured it out and you got it tomorrow, that's showing you that possibilities exist. So the best teachers connect with kids,
Yeah.
and it's about having kids grow, and they use their content as that vehicle to show kids different ways that other people have solved problems, whether it's in the novel that you're reading, whether it's in the experiment that you're doing, whatever your content area is. That's what the teachers do to help kids. And to me, that's what happens in school. Especially now, you can look up the dates and facts and the contents and solutions and everything online. So it's about helping kids learn about themselves and learn how to exist in that community that's school.
One of the constants of all of you guys, and I think maybe this is rooted in Tom, is that he welcomes, you all welcome kids that are even, as Tom has said before, the difficult kids or the problem kids or the toughest kid in the school or whatever. You welcome their story to be part of the conversation. And no matter what it is that they have to say, their experiences that they've had, good and bad, and very much so, especially the bad, are a gift to others by sharing their story, their experiences. You guys do this in Circle all the time, but it's a real gift. And Tom has said, all right, your parents are divorced, or you've had cancer in the family, or there's giant amounts of bad news hanging over you. That's a gift, man. Share that story. It's unique. Mm-hmm. And you all do that so well. You inspire kids to share their story, but also help others from a sense of understanding, but also from a sense of, hey, here's how you can prevent this kind of stuff. And like you say, hope, you're going to get through it. And for a kid to communicate this to another kid is sometimes much more profound.
And people see other people, whether it's kids seeing another kid or an adult or somebody, and they think, wow, that person has it all together.
Yeah.
And that person's doing great. And they don't realize the struggle and the effort that person has gone through to get to where they are. And I think that's the wonder of Circle. That is what builds the empathy when someone else talks about their struggles, that their parents are divorced, and all of a sudden now another kid that might not have even shared anything in Circle recognizes that, hey, other kids that I didn't even know that I thought had it all together because they present that way are dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with. And I can approach it differently.
Wow.
So, and if I can, JD, it's challenging for schools right now financially. And can I take a minute to give a shout out to some of our Chevy sponsors?
Please do. Please, because without them, you and I both don't really know what would be happening. I mean, they are your biggest fans.
This to me is just amazing. We have 14 Chevy dealers in Vermont and Northern New York. Kia White River, Wells River, Langway, Kia Newport, Littleton, Benson, Kia Burlington, Alderman, Adirondack, Handy, Ellis, Cody, Goss, and Champlain, that are all supporting schools in their area, teachers in their area, and allowing Sweethearts and Heroes to work with those schools through their generous donations. And it's just phenomenal that we get to have that impact because of their generosity.
We're talking about Brookside Elementary, Lakeview Elementary, Woodbury Elementary, Newberry and Ludlow Elementary, Washington Village Schools, Orange Center Schools. The list goes on. I'm getting some comments right now about Barry City Elementary and Middle School and Barry Town Middle School. Are these schools that you guys have been to off the top of your head, or will they maybe be schools that you guys will get into?
Barry, off the top of my head, I'd have to look up in the past. They're not right now on our radar this year, I don't think. We do have a couple dealerships we're still looking to find schools with. And it's, so we're always looking to expand the work and help the dealership dollars go as far as they can. So,
yeah. You guys are doing remarkable stuff. I mean, it's just I'm pardon the word here, but I'm flabbergasted by what you guys do. 2.5 million students in school districts from New England to Hawaii and north into Canada. What an accomplishment that's been. And it's not like you guys have been around for 40 years. I mean, we're just talking the last couple of years. It is amazing. What do we say, Winton, to parents, anyone who's watching or listening right now that is thinking, "Oh my God, I got to get Sweethearts and Heroes into our local school, into my kid's school." What do they do?
If they go to our website, sweetheartsandheroes.com, they can fill out an interest form, and either Tom or I will be in touch with them and talk to them about it, or their school can fill out the form, and we'll be in touch with the school and talk about our whole suite of programs and services, from the presentations to circles, our Brave program where we're training middle school and high school kids to do bully drills with elementary kids.
Yeah.
Our STEP program, which is phenomenal, where we've got kids in high school delivering our presentations to elementary kids. And even Loudon's going to be working with some students this year that are 8th graders to deliver that message to kindergarten, 1st grader. You know, it's just phenomenal, the work that we get to do with kids and empower kids to be the ones to be delivering the message of how they want that climate and culture in the school. But our information's on our website, the form's there. We get back to everybody, and we'll work what we can to see if funding's an issue. We try to help a district with grants or find ways we can help get some funding to get them in there. And again, our Chevy dealers have been an awesome support for that for the last few years.
Yeah. I would love to get someone from one of the Chevy dealers in here so that they can ring your bell and tell all of our listeners why they support you so much. I mean, I think you and I know why, but I would love to hear it from them. You guys are just unbelievable. I am so blessed. I am so honored and so privileged to know you guys, to be partnered up with you, all of you, every single one of you. And I hope that we can get together at some point and have a big old cookout or.
Yeah. And, you know, we can't thank you enough for the opportunity to share our message, you know, because the message of hope, the message of empathy, hold on, possibilities exist. We do it in schools, but as we talked a little bit earlier, you know, it's a message for adults. Yeah. We're all struggling with things, and we don't know what tomorrow can look like.
Yeah.
You know, we create these scenarios in our heads, but I can think of 1,000 times in my life where tomorrow didn't happen the way I thought it was going to, you know, and so those possibilities exist about what that future can be. And that's a message for adults. We're working with kids because we try to instill it with kids so that they can carry that through with them to adulthood.
Yeah.
But we appreciate the opportunity to be on the air with you, to be sharing that message with everybody.
Thank you, brother. Winton Buddington, appreciate your time so much, my man. I always look forward to Wednesdays for reasons just like that. Sweethearts and Heroes. Amazing stuff. Sweetheartsandheroes.com. Get on their Facebook page. Get on their social media. Get on their website and spread it as far and wide as you can.